Second. Um, okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It's a couple minutes after.
All right.
Yeah, so as I was saying, what we're going to talk about today is sales forecasting, or we call it market planning. We do have a separate market planning menu. But before we go into that, I just want to go into company control and just touch on something real quick. You may or may not have seen some of these options, and this is just our demo database. But back in company control, back on this particular screen, screen number 9, at the
Kathy?
very bottom.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't have any screen up other than the WebEx GoToMeeting screen.
Oh. Now do you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry about that. I forgot to hit the show my screen button.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. Screen number 9, within the company control. Down, see an option that says sales plan and sales plan basis. At one point in time, we did have 2 different formats. Now we just have one format, so this is, really not used. But the sales plan basis has an option 1 or 2. And essentially, what that means is that there is part of the sales extract that runs, it recreates your pallet file, your sales order file, but there's another file that's created called the FRSML file, which was our old sales model file for sales history. And this sales history file contains actual, and it also incorporates these sales plans as well. And the sales plan basis 1 says that when you're creating this sales model file, do you want to include open orders and invoiced orders? That's what number 1 means. And number 2 says include invoiced orders only. Now I realize this help text may not be say that, and Brad and I were looking at Brad looked at the program to clarify that. So I'll get somebody to update this help text so that it relates more to what the program is looking at. But I don't know that you guys use that SML file for any of your covenant reports, but I wanted to bring it up just so that you know that the file is there, and it does contain some of the plan information that we're going to look at today. Okay, so going back to the main menu, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about the market planning menu, which is number 25. And in this, the first option is called the control plan. The control plan. And what you can do is you can create a plan by season or crop year, by commodity and variety. So again, this is my demo data. You see I have, I'll just focus on our 2008 apples, and in this case I've got my regular storage Red Delicious. Much like the fruit delivery or the commodity delivery system that Pat House was demoing last week, we have revision numbers so that you can, create your first version, and as the market changes, you can create, multiple revisions. So I'm just going to go in and do a two to change. And as you can see, once you create or define the variety, then you start assigning your grade, label, and or inventory codes. So to add a new entry, I can just type in maybe my top label, grade Washington Extra Fancy, and inventory code, maybe it's designed for export or what have you. This is also an easy way to copy 1 week to the next, because what you're doing in this file maintenance is you are actually telling the system what your volume and anticipated sales are by week, by customer. So what the system's done is it's gone out to my customer master and pulled in all of my customers. And what I'd have to clarify is if this is billed to customers or shipped to customers. I didn't check that. But it also is showing you here the regions, the customer class, and the sales channel. And these are fields that you can define within the customer master.
Kathy?
They are set up in a master table so that you can set up your own regions and sales channels.
Kathy?
Yeah.
Does it start by pulling in the entire customer file?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I think, I'm not sure if it focuses on just ship tos or bill tos. I have to double check that.
But either way, it's all of the bill twos or all of the ship twos. That's where it starts by pulling them all in. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So let's just say, for example, Albertson, San Francisco, what's I don't know, let's just say 1,049, maybe average price $25. So I could just key in some quantities. I can key in the sales dollars and it'll back calculate the price. And let's just say goodies. Maybe they sell at a higher price. So I hit enter. So as you can see, it's calculated the dollars based on my price and quantity. So now if I want to go on to the next week, I have my F keys to go on to week number 2, or then I can F8 back to my previous week. So let's say I've entered week number 1, and now if I want to copy, I can say start with week number 1 and copy from week 1 to week 2. And then I can copy to week 3. So now once I go into week 1 and I hit F7 for next week, there's week 2, and then maybe this guy's going to take 2 loads. I don't know what a load is, but then I can make any changes. Just tell me, warning, your volume has changed. The average price will be used to recalculate the dollars. And then it does a recalc.
Kathy?
Yeah.
On the copy function, can you copy from a week to multiple weeks?
I was looking at that, and I could not see where there was an option to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just from 1 to 1 here.
All right.
So as you can see, it'll just, for every grade, label, inventory code combination, it keeps adding to my existing plan. Once you hit F10 to save, then this will get saved to the system as, revision number 1. And then you can, let's see, when I exit, then it would be then considered under saved version. So once it's saved, it would then show up under this level as a revision 1. Then I could, as you can see, I can then make a copy of it to create revision 2 and then make any changes. So very similar to the commodity forecast system with revision levels. Once it's saved, you can't make any changes, you can't delete it, but you can copy it.
Kathy?
Yes.
The control number I saw on the previous screen there for the individual line items, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yep, let me go there.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. What's that all about?
Let's see. Let me try changing this and see if it'll change it to control. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like the history.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Thank you.
You can always see what the original was and if somebody changed it.
Got it.
And you got the user too. So if you have multiple users that are maybe updating the plan, you can see that as well.
Understood.
And notice the F1 close records. So now it shows me almost like the history. Here it was at 1049, then it was reversed out at 1049, and put back in at 98.
Okie doke. Thanks.
And right now, like I say, this data just updates this file, and as I mentioned, gets kind of merged into the SML file. And that's all we do with it right at this moment. Okay? second item is a 6-week sales and packing projection. And with that, I need to go to another screen, and then Brad's going to pick up and kind of discuss this one a little bit. So where do I go to the screen? Here, let me type. Myself a couple more. Yeah. Now he's cussing me because my enter key is probably different than his.
You don't have the labels on your keyboard. I can't tell what letters are.
Oh, yeah, my fingernails have scraped the letters off of the keyboard, so he's driving blind here.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Yeah.
A third of our keyboard's got blanks on it. Okay, that should get in the right place.
Okay.
And authorized it. This 6 weeks projection plan. Go ahead. Has authority in the user default. And if you're authorized to it, then you can put data in, or you also have the view authority or no access at all. And what we have here are sales projections put in by the sales staff, and then packing projections put in by the different associations. Okay. So here we have, and it's by district type and variety: 3 lemons, 1 Naples, and then you start with the sales projection. Well, let me just talk about it a little first. There's the first date on the screen is the 6-week start date, and that's the plan date. And then there are 6 weeks where there are projections that start in that first week for the 3 lemons for each of the different packing houses or associations, actually. And you can roll forward from 1 week to another, so that once you've got your 6 weeks in there, you roll forward, and it takes the first or the last 5 weeks, rolls into the first 5 weeks, and then all you have to do is enter the 6th week and any adjustments that you might have based on better knowledge now that a week's passed on the other items. Okay, so you can go into one of those.
Is this one?
Sure. And you start off with doing sales projections, which is on the right-hand side, and the sales go first, and then the associations put in how much they think they can pack out of that. So if you do a 2 to change one of those, and you can either do it by size or just by totals. Here the sales are done by totals, but the packing house day is going to be by size. So here they break it down by the grade, domestic or export, and you do have the ability to do it by size, but they didn't do it here. Okay, so if you back out of that.
Hey, Brad.
It's easier to see what's going on if you look at a packing house projection. Yeah.
Those quantities are in standard units?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, F3 out of that and call up one of those guys. Yeah. Okay, just do it 2 on one of those. Okay, so here you can see where they've actually broken it down by the different sizes of what they think they're going to do. You still see the corporate sales projections in the upper right that were entered. There's the first column is equity share estimate, and that's based on the equity share percentage for this particular association. See up at the top to 25%, and so it says that equity share is actually for the domestic. So the estimate is 25% of what the domestic sales projections are. And so you can see that at the bottom, you're changing that first line in yellow, and you can change the different sizes. You can F3 out of that and go down to the sixth one and enter some new numbers.
Down here.
Yeah. So the sixth one is the only one you really need to put new numbers in. Because the other five have rolled forward from the previous weeks. We put in just some numbers.
Make up some numbers.
Sure. There's two ways you can put the numbers in. Right now, Kathy's just typing in quantities, press enter. And there's also F9 lets you toggle between doing percentages and numbers. So here you could say I've got a certain total. You need to put a total over there for that to work.
Way over here.
Right.
A total quantity.
Total quantity. And those percentages. Alright. And just press enter now. And you can see it tells you that you have to fix the percentages. Okay, so and the percentages. So you have to, if you prefer doing it by percentages, it's F24 allows you to set your user preference. Come in as to enter percentages or come in to enter volume. And you can do it either way. Three out of that. And F3 again. So basically, put your sales projections in first, and then the packing houses put in their packing projections, and then the interface date is where the way our one client uses it is they enter the sales projections on Thursday or Friday, and then on Monday they have the packing houses put in all their data. Monday night, then they interface that data to Cognos reporting, and they use this data to do different slicing and dicing of the data. We pass them floor counts, we pass them regular pack out projections, and the 6-week projections, also order data.
Brad?
Yes.
In that example where Kathy was typing, obviously you were keying in your packing projections, but the corporate office hadn't keyed in their sales projections yet. Will it force the corporate projections to be put in before what? Or is it just left wide open? Is there anything that forces the corporate data to be put in?
I don't think it forces it. I think there, Kathy did some 6 weeks, a 6th week.
Yeah.
The corporate data.
Right.
It's better to have the numbers there first so you can see the equity share.
Exactly.
What they expect to do.
All right.
Of course, you'll be above and below the equity share from week to week, but that gives you a good guide of what, where you should be near.
Right.
And that's basically it.
Love it, Brooke.
Once they've interfaced the data, you can't change it anymore. So they can maintain it until it's been interfaced. And once it's been interfaced, then you can change the next week's projections, but not that current week. So they can see how well people have done their projections, how accurate they are, how much they change each week.
Did you guys hear Brooke pipe up?
I heard somebody asking a question.
Yep. Brooke, you there? No, it was Brooke. At least I thought I heard Brooke.
Someone asking a question? Was it Brooke?
I thought so, but I don't hear her any longer, so I don't know.
So, actually, hold on. Is so the comparison of plan to production plan to the sales plan, is that done within the Cognos then? Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay. And then they're putting these 6 weeks in advance. Yes?
Yes, the current week, next week, and up to 6 weeks, a week at a time. Right. And they roll forward, it drops off the current week as past that, and then adds another 6 weeks.
The other side of it. Okay. All right, I think that's
Does that help, Roy? Ben, are you still there?
Yeah.
It gave me, wanted to make sure that, yeah, it helped. Thanks, Kathy. I'm trying to think of if there's something else I wanted to know, but now, does this tie in any way, like the production planning piece or the sale for the packing ships? That doesn't tie currently back to production scheduling, correct?
Correct. No time.
Okay.
Roy, this doesn't appear to be. Roy, this doesn't appear to be any. It's just a different way. It's a repository, much like the spreadsheets and etc. that Doug is maintaining. It's really a repository for the data. Brad, you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roy.
What I was going to say, what I was saying, Stan, is I see that. I see that it's a repository you know, for me in my brain, I keep thinking about, like we talked about, that previous packing generation that you've done, and again, that's kind of off to the side. This is kind of off to the side, and I'm sitting here in my mind going, man, if we could figure out how to get these all the fingers to come together and link together so it was tied across both the sales data and the production data, and get it where it ties to production scheduling. You can use some of the analytics and some of the, or not analytics, some of the predictive forecasting that's in that Calavo model for helping you produce your production schedule, and it tied to this. And then, of course, you have your sales planning tied in as well, and it looks at your history from last year's sales and things like that. I mean, you could develop a pretty powerful tool, but it's not today. I understand that, Stan, but I was just trying to vision it going forward.
Absolutely. Brad, you said that there were. I think you said that there were. I can't remember the term. User authorities, so that one association can't see the next association's data.
Yeah, there is normal location authority.
Okay.
So if you're only authorized to your location, then you would see the sales projection data, and you see your packing data.
But everybody has.
And then there's also at the user level whether you can even get to the screen or not, and if you could view it or maintain it.
And everybody has visibility to the corporate data, obviously.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Not from me.
Okay. Roy? Group, are you guys okay?
That's a loaded question.
Dan, what do you mean by that? Are you picking on me? I'm picking on me.
What do you think I'm hiding in somebody else's office for?
All right.
I think that was good. Thanks, Kathy.
All right. You're quite welcome, and then we'll talk to you guys tomorrow for the next session tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Have
Bye.
a good day.
All right.